This is The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good morning, afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama. How we doing today on this Wednesday? It's the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, BamaCentral.com. You're checking us out on the Bama Central YouTube channel, or you're checking us out on our own social media machines at Joe Gaither 6, listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or on Amazon. We appreciate everybody who has subscribed, rated, and reviewed, checking out the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central as we continue to work our way through this college football season. And it's a hump day, it's a Wednesday, it's a bye week, so we're kind of a little chance to step back and take some big picture views here of where we are in the season. I've got a couple topics I want to talk about today. Before we introduce the topics, we need to introduce my friend. Mason Woods sits across the table from us. You can follow him at MAWoods_. He is your host for all things Bama. We tried an episode yesterday, didn't really like the quality. We're going to redo it for you guys. There will be a brand new episode for podcast, All Things Bama. So if you've been listening or paying attention to Bama Central anytime over the last 3 or 4 years, you are familiar with that show. Joey Blackwell did it. Mason Smith did it for a little bit of time. And now Mason Woods will be taking over All Things Bama. Mason, good morning. How you doing, man?
Doing good. We've got some interesting things to get into today. I'm excited to see where these conversations go because, boy, these are some spicy topics.
I don't usually do spicy. I haven't done spicy topics by myself lately.
It's a little harder to, it's harder to just kind of get riled up by yourself.
I'm excited about these two topics. We have just two topics for you today, and you can always comment at Joe Gaither 6. Send us a comment, a question, a query, or a complaint. We want to talk about Jameson Williams. We want to talk about Jameson Williams and his latest saga, his latest incident. But Jameson Williams has been an electric player for the Detroit Lions. And look, we don't like the Detroit Lions, but we love Jameson Williams. He has been an unbelievable player when he has been on the field. Obviously, missing a lot of his rookie year with the ACL injury, and now has been missing portions of his second year with a gambling suspension. Now he's serving a PED suspension, but there's another saga, another incident that we have to talk about, and golly, it might make a couple of y'all upset, my opinion, but that's part of the reason why we do this. We're also going to talk about the college football playoff. You can thank my friends, shout out Brick Squad, firing me up this morning. Everybody's got a group chat. Everybody's got a group chat with a name. Ours is Brick Squad. And those gentlemen, fine gentlemen, I love you all, some of my good friends, got me fired up today about Alabama and their college football playoff chances. Really not understanding the way that this is going to work, the way that these teams are going to be evaluated, and maybe not understanding exactly the landscape of some of these teams, what some of these teams have done so far this year. College football is full of mid. And if you beat the number one team in your own house, that's a huge win. So we'll talk about the college football playoff. Next Tuesday is the very first college football playoff poll. It's not election day. It's college football playoff poll. And if you're worried about the election, it's NFL trade deadline day.
That's like the third thing happening, the election.
You've got college football playoff poll.
Yeah. It's
playoff poll, trade deadline, election. By the time you'll have the trade deadline about 4 or 5 o'clock.
Yeah, by the time the Titans have traded their entire roster, we will have maybe found out who the next president's going to be.
Oh, no. That's going to be like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Oh, yeah. That's going to be a huge mess. So
I can't wait for it to be over.
To distract yourself at 7, is that what it is? It's going to be 7, 8 o'clock on Tuesday. 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern. So what is that? 6 to 7. They're going to release the first college football playoff poll between 6 and 7 o'clock Central Time in God's time zone. So Mason, you want to start with Jameson Williams?
We
got to start by telling everybody where we are. We're in the Derek Daniel State Farm studio. We appreciate Derek Daniel for sponsoring the program. You can call Derek for all your home life auto insurance needs. He's got great employees, Red, Reese, and Victoria. They'll be happy to walk you through any insurance questions or any quotes Call him today, 205-758-3391. We are right off McFarland Boulevard, past the Tiger Rock on the left, a beautiful little facility, and we appreciate him allowing us to be here. Call 205-758-3391. Call and see how much Derek can save you today.
Boy, this is something.
This hurts my heart.
It's just, yes, it's very concerning. Let's lay it out for anybody that's uninformed.
Please go ahead. I can't do it. Please go ahead.
Jameson Williams, who is currently serving the aforementioned PED suspension that we talked about just a few minutes ago, is now under investigation for an incident that occurred. What was it? How long ago did
it sounded like it was 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, okay.
2.5 weeks
ago,
before the suspension
that occurred prior to his now suspension that he is serving, where him and his brother were traveling in a car together. They get pulled over by police. Standard question the police ask when you get pulled over: are there any weapons in the car? His brother says, yes, I've got a pistol. Here's my concealed carry permit. All good, no big deal. Are there any other weapons in the car? Here's where we have some issues. Jameson Williams pipes up, yeah, I got a gun. Jameson Williams does not have a concealed carry license. Immediately, red flags are going off. Cop has an issue. In most cases, any average citizen, you or I, would be arrested in this scenario. But supervisor,
I play for the Lions.
Yeah, Jameson Williams is pleading with the officer. Hey, man, I play for the Lions. Please. Come on, I live in Detroit. That's why I got the gun. Look, it's a valid point. But I play for the Lions. Come on, man. Sergeant shows up, makes a few phone calls. Next thing you know, Jameson Williams gets to go home with his gun. Like, what is happening? You see you can watch the whole body cam footage. His sergeant pulls out his phone. He's got a Detroit Lions background, lock screen wallpaper. Like it is
one pride, baby.
It is like a scene from a movie. It's
the supervisor is over to the officers like, hey guys, why did you? He almost reprimands the arresting officers.
I'm so mad at you too. Good Lord.
Like, look, if you know me, you probably know I don't really love authority all the time. So it's a source of contention. But goodness gracious, like, very tough job to be a police officer. Absolutely. Very difficult job.
Especially in Detroit.
Especially in Detroit. Yes. And look, you never know what you're going to walk in on or what you're going to find on a traffic stop. So, of course, they've got to be cautious. It sounds like Jameson and his brother handled it very above board. Very above board. I have a gun. Here's my concealed carry license. I have a gun as well. There's no reports of resisting arrest. There's no reports of violence or anything like that.
It almost seemed like Jameson Williams didn't even think he was doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
Which it maybe is another problem in and of itself, but we move on from there.
So the initial officers don't recognize it. The initial officers, I guess, are
not Lions fans,
or not big enough. I mean, you got to be a big Lions fan to recognize Jameson Williams by face. Let's just be honest. You and I know his face because of his time at Alabama. But look, if you're not Jared Goff or Aiden Hutchinson, you're probably not getting recognized as a Detroit Lion. You can say whatever that can speak for whatever it is in and of itself. So the arresting officers don't realize who he is. He pleads, I'm exactly like Mason said, I'm a Detroit Lions player. I live in Detroit. That's why I've got to have the protection. And the supervisor that gets calls another supervisor and says, hey, does the brother's concealed carry license, can it apply? Can we kind of make it apply to Jameson Williams' gun? And look, I'm not trying to say that I don't want Jameson in trouble. Yes. Exactly. But this is clearly
you violated the law, so those things have consequences.
This is clearly preferential treatment.
Yes.
And right now, this is getting brought up. This is getting stirred up because people, I guess the arresting officers did not really like what the sergeant did.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to know like where this information kind of came out because in the report we watched the news report, and they said they talked to the Detroit Department of Public Safety, and I wonder if between the several phone calls that were made from this sergeant to whoever his contact was at that office,
other people
found out and did not like what happened here.
Right, because. Look, Jameson Williams or not, law or not? Look, I'm not here to debate any sort of gun laws. I am pro Second Amendment. That is kind of where I'm at there on that. But like, it's very clearly A plus B equals C here.
Yeah, this is not a gray
it was
area.
not that. It was A plus B equals Z. Maybe well, we can do something different here.
This is pretty black or white. As I understand it, if you have that license, you can carry a gun concealed in your car. If you do not have that license, you cannot carry a concealed gun in your car. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So in this situation, obviously, there were some ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Man, so not a good look for look. We all
is it a worse look for like the Lions and Jameson Williams? I guess not really the Lions, but Jameson Williams. Just
it's a worse look for the police officers.
Yeah, that's what it's got.
Detroit PD. Like, look. If I were ever look, it would be tough. You got to imagine if you're Tuscaloosa Police Department and you run up across an athlete. That's
pull over Jalen Miller.
Yeah, that's a tough situation.
Take him to jail.
That's a moral conundrum there. It is because you're seeing. I mean, that the Detroit guy is seeing. Man, if I arrest Jameson Williams, he might get suspended. Personal conduct policy. And look, let's just be honest. Let's just make it what it is. When Detroit is winning, I'm sure the city is doing well as a whole. People are coming to Detroit. People are happier. Like, it's just how it is. I know that because that's how it is in Tuscaloosa. When Alabama loses, the city goes into mourning. Less people come to church on Sunday. Literally, like it's crazy. Less people are in the church on Sunday when Alabama loses. And so, sure, there's a little moral conundrum. Do I punish a player who do I follow the law for someone who, might have a little influence on the morale of the city, might have a little, it's just not a good look. It makes me uncomfortable to read. It makes me uncomfortable because I like Jameson Williams. Obviously, his time here at Alabama was amazing. I've never heard anything bad about him.
Like we said, it wasn't like he tried to be sneaky here. He was very upfront. He outright said, he was second person to answer the question. Yeah, I got a gun. It's right here in the back seat, or it's right here under the seat. Like, it's not like he tried to hide. And I really don't even know if he knew he was doing anything wrong here. I think he just kind of had his gun, and then
Now you said that there would have been lucky. You said there would have been an easy way for him to avoid this. Maybe
again, as I understand, I'm not super well versed in gun laws, but especially not ones in the state of Alabama. But as I understand it, in Michigan, as I understand it, it basically would have been as easy as him just having the gun not loaded and out of arm's reach, and then it's okay because then it's not a concealed carry. If it's within view of the police, it's not concealed carry. If it's in plain sight, and not if it's out of your reach, it's not like you're not carrying it, you can't access it. I think that's like it basically just if he throws it in like the back seat behind his brother who was driving the car and he maybe pops the magazine out, like I think he gets off scot-free. The cop says, "Okay, I see there's an unloaded handgun there. We're good to go." It's just like it's sheer negligence on Jameson Williams' part for not knowing the laws in the state that he lives in and has lived in now for a couple years. It's not like he just got to the Lions. And then it's also just like
it's incompetence.
Yes,
it's either incompetence or negligence.
Understatement for the
which one? Incompetence. It's to me, it's incompetence or negligence.
Yeah, it's both, I guess.
Because it's definitely preferential treatment. I mean, the guy, the officer, the sergeant is calling other people, trying to get this kind of like smoothed over. And as soon as, I can let him go. I can let him go. Oh man, he says it. You're a bleeping hero. You're a bleeping hero, man. Thank you so much. And then they let him go with the like. So this brings me to this. I mean, the officers aside, you can debate how good or bad a job they did, and I think we're probably maybe all in agreement that not a good look. But Jameson Williams, I do like the guy. He was super electric here at Alabama, amazing player.
Yeah.
I never heard whispers of troublemaker ever. I want to make that clear. I want to make that very clear. But since he's been to the league, okay, you get it. Like the ACL rookie, whatever. Yeah, that's not on your record. That's just that happens. You're like, okay. But you get popped for gambling for gambling in the facility 2 years ago, and that was a 4 or a 6 game suspension. And obviously, the NFL rules on gambling are absolutely nuts to me. We're gonna suspend a player more time for gambling than for domestic assault, domestic violence, and that's just a problem. That's a huge problem to me. And look, I think gambling should be, if you're gambling on football in the facility, or if you're gambling in the facility, yes, you should punish that. But we need to have our domestic violence punishments a little bit equal to gambling a little bit. So he has the 4 or 6 games. I think it was 6.
I think it was 6.
Because I didn't know, I couldn't place a wager on FanDuel, on DraftKings, on whatever from the facility. I had to leave the facility to do that. I wasn't gambling on football is what he said, but I didn't know I could. So boom, didn't know. Then PEDs this year. He comes out and says, I don't know what I took. I am very careful with what I eat and what I take, supplements, this, that, and the other. I got to own the responsibility, but I don't know. I got to own it, but I don't know what I took. I don't know what popped me on the PEDs. 2-game suspension. Oh, I'm in Detroit. I don't know that I need to have a concealed carry license. I didn't know that it wasn't a good look. I have it just for protection. It just made sense to me. Like, some of these things are like, somebody's got to help him a little bit. Somebody's got to help you a little bit, James. I don't know exactly what your support system is, but we just got to, I don't know, maybe try to upgrade the support system a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like maybe this is a spot where, maybe like, you think about some of these like super agents in the NFL and things. I feel like this is a spot where maybe one of those kind of guys steps in and he sits down with Jameson Williams. He's like, hey man, you're going to mess your money up if you keep doing all this. You got to learn where you live. You got to learn what you can and can't do. And it's just like, nobody does this to him. I don't know who his agent is. I don't know who he was represented by. I don't know exactly who all is surrounding him. But yeah, you got to find whether it's, an ex-athlete, like a mentor type figure or something. He's got to get linked up with someone who can inform him on what he can and can't do, because it's beginning to get to the point where I'm almost not buying the I don't know story anymore.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on this one more time, but he keeps doing this. It's like, come on, buddy.
And look, I got a lot of room to grow myself and a lot of things I need to learn myself. And I appreciate my own support system, but goodness gracious, you got millions of dollars. Hey,
and usually, just me personally, my rule of thumb is if I don't know something, I will usually not do it, and then be like, well, I didn't know.
Right.
Seems like just some poor judgment on his part.
I usually like the strategy of asking for forgiveness instead of permission, but I'm also not a multi-millionaire with an NFL career on the line.
It's every year players make extremely questionable decisions, and we sit here thinking like, oh, if I had that much money, I don't know what, I would never do that. And maybe we would do some dumb things, but I really don't think that if you handed me the amount of money Jameson Williams has, I would do anything remotely stupid, anything that would even risk putting me in any trouble. Like I'm sitting at home every day. I'm not at the facility.
I'm playing video games.
I'm watching film or playing video games.
I'm just eating right. I'm doing my curls. I'm watching HBO Max and Netflix and just trying to keep it chill.
You can have fun after you retire and you've gotten to your second
chilling in the
contract. Pool. That's when you can have your fun, I guess. If you
chilling in the pool. That's what I'm doing.
It's crazy.
Maybe going out to a nice dinner. That's probably where I would spend most of my money is nice dinners, nice restaurants. If I were that wealthy.
It's just, it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand it. Let's be honest. What are you doing, Jameson Williams, where you feel like you need to have a gun on you also?
Well, he says, I live in Detroit. That's why I have a gun. I don't know Detroit well enough. And if you are from Detroit, maybe you can chime in. I don't know Detroit well enough. Is there not nicer areas where he can get a home? I mean, he's wealthy. He can probably pick where he wants to live. You think about the Detroit Pistons, Auburn Hills, isn't that the Palace at Auburn Hills? Isn't that a little smaller, nicer area?
I know Detroit gets the bad rap of being this garbage city, but like it's really just like any other big city in the country.
Good areas, bad areas.
It has its bad areas. So I guarantee you, Jameson Williams can find a place where he does not have to walk around carrying a gun to feel safe.
Where's Aiden Hutchinson live? Where's Jared Goff live?
Yeah, like I guarantee you,
Aiden Frank Ragnow on that team still
walking around carrying a pistol because they don't need to. You don't need to, Jameson.
Where's Sam Laporta live?
It's crazy. I don't understand.
Where's Brian Branch live? I mean, come on. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs got to live somewhere nice.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
So, Jameson, we love you. And this is not said out of condemnation. This is said out of, come on, brother. We got to get a little bit. We can't be You gotta avoid some
You
of
gotta
these
be a little smarter.
pitfalls.
Like, come on.
So we gotta avoid. We can't be missing 2 games for PEDs. We can't be missing 4 or 5 games for.
And,
Did you win any money off?
Year.
Did you win any money off gambling? Was that even a winning wager? Because you cost yourself game checks.
He's been so good this year too. Like he's really broken out. You know, he's obviously not the wide receiver 1. He's secondary to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Wow, that one always trips me up. But he has been fantastic. He's really turned it on for the Lions. He's been on my fantasy team. He's been awesome on my fantasy team. And it's very unfortunate to see that right as he starts to hit his stride in the NFL, it's like, oh, well, let me do some really stupid stuff.
Seems like almost every time for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's keep it going. We want to say hello to Julian Lee commenting on the Facebook. Looking good, Joe Gaither. Roll Tide. Don't know about looking good, but Roll Tide back to you. Appreciate that. Mason's the one looking good. Appreciate that. Let's move to our second topic. And I want to talk about the college football playoff. Before we talk about the college football playoff and where Alabama is, who's going to be ranked what, let me tell you about our friends, Purple Turtle Roofing. They're the most reliable residential roof replacement company in Alabama and Mississippi. Whether it's addressing leaks, storm damage, or general wear and tear, Purple Turtle Roofing is going to be there to deliver exceptional roof repair for your property. Purple Turtle Roofing is the leading expert in local residential roofing solutions, specializing in providing unparalleled service and quality craftsmanship for all your roof replacement needs. Call Dustin Foley and his team today at 877-PT-ROOF-5 for your free inspection. That's 877-787-6635 to schedule your appointment, and one of their qualified employees will come check out your roof for free and make sure you're prepared for any and all of life's storms. You can check them out online at roofturtle.com. And once again, we want to remind you that we are live in the Derek Daniel State Farm Studios. You can call Derek at 205-758-3391 for all your insurance needs. You absolutely need to have proper insurance. You can call him 205-758-3391. Call and see how much Derek can save you today. Mason, speaking of storms, you know what's been unusual here in Tuscaloosa? I'm pretty sure if we go today, which is looking a little unlikely, if we go today and tomorrow with no rain, it will be the first time in like 40, I think I saw it was like 40, 50 years that October has not had any rain in Alabama. It may not just be Alabama, but in Tuscaloosa County. Because I'm pretty sure we haven't had rain this whole month. Which is wild. So, but you still need your roofs checked because a storm, look, if you haven't had a storm, that means the next one's probably going to be nasty. You want to talk about something on the horizon, the college football playoff?
Yeah, there's some interesting things I think on the horizon for the college football playoff. There's some teams up there that are maybe not going to be quite as highly ranked as people expect them to be by the season's end, I think. I'm looking at you, Miami. I'm not so sure if Miami can win the ACC. They still got to play Clemson, and Clemson has been rolling people ever since they lost to Georgia. But also, I mean,
they'd have to meet Clemson in the ACC title.
Yes,
the rest of Miami's game.
in the playoff, most likely.
Duke, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, and Syracuse.
But are they going to be a top 4 seed?
Yeah.
I think Miami fans are going to be a little upset when they maybe lose to Clemson in the ACC championship game.
That'd be wild, I think. But that would get you probably 2 ACC teams in. And is that their only path to 2 ACC teams in?
I think so. What is Pitt right now? They have 2 losses, don't they?
Pitt is currently a 20% chance to make the playoff according to ESPN FPI. They are 7-0.
Oh,
and the rest of their record is at SMU this week, at SMU, Virginia, Clemson, Louisville, Boston College. Okay. So that's a little difficult schedule, but if you manage it,
this is the ACC is interesting.
3 teams. We're going to go 3.
I mean, probably not.
You're going to get. I'm sorry to use this term, but at the end of the day, in 6 weeks, you're going to get Are you going to get a DEI bracket? Is that what it's going to be? Because look, if you just take the top 12 teams, then Pitt's not in.
No,
but if they have a good record and end up like 11-1, third in the ACC because they lost to Clemson and didn't get to the ACC championship game, are they in at 11? Are they in at 10? Like, Are you just going to get we need to have equal representation from all conferences in this bracket? That is my biggest fear, Mason, is the fact is these, and we'll know next week what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
We'll kind of get a real good picture on whether they're going to go top 4, top 12 team, 4 conference champions, the 5th, the conference, the highest ranked conference champion from the group of 5, those other 7. We'll know from those other 7 spots if they're going to take, best teams, or if we need to have equal representation. And I'm fearful. Oh, so fearful.
It's interesting. I think you look at teams like, like Ole Miss in this kind of weird limbo where I don't think you're going to see Ole Miss making the SEC championship
19% chance to get in.
I think Colorado's another kind of weird one where they, I think, could win that conference now. Potentially. I don't know. It's this
Colorado is 6-2, 4-1 in the conference, sitting 4th behind BYU, Iowa State, and Kansas State.
And they have to play Kansas.
They lost to Kansas State. They have Texas Tech, Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State left to play. So they will not win the Big 12.
Interesting. So I don't know. There's a lot of very interesting scenarios, but I think there's a lot of teams that are going to have somewhat plausible gripes for being left out, maybe because they're sitting at in a 10-2 or something like that, and maybe didn't win their conference championship or didn't even get to play in their conference championship. I don't know. I cannot wait for the sheer anger that will happen on that Tuesday when these rankings drop and you get to see the timelines flooded with just nothing but pure discourse on, oh, this team should have made it. Oh, this team sucks. Oh, that team has the terrible loss. They don't belong here. Oh, this team has the best win. They belong. Oh, it's going to be amazing.
The top 12 teams, according to ESPN's Football Power Index, as far as probability, this is not rankings. This is highest probability to lowest probability, 1 through 12. Miami, 89% chance to make the playoff. Yeah. Oregon, 87%. Georgia, 84%. Penn State, 84%. Texas, 75%. Ohio State, 72%. Indiana, 68%. Tennessee, 67%. Boise State, 60%. Notre Dame, 58% chance. BYU has a 57% chance to make the playoff. And the number 12 team with a 53% chance to make the college football playoff is your Alabama Crimson Tide. So, Mason, I ask you on Tuesday, when the first rankings come out, will Alabama be in the field of 12? Currently, number 14 in the AP poll, will not play this week. Yes. So cannot make another impression on the committee until the first polls are out. Will Alabama be in the top 12, or will they be just on the outside looking in?
I think they're in, and I think people are going to hate it. People are going to be so angry about it. Bama's going to be sitting right there at number 12, and everybody is going to be pissed. But who else are you going to put there? Bama has the best win of any team in the country. You took down Georgia. Georgia's going to be number 1. You can talk about Ohio State all you want. Georgia mops the floor with Ohio State.
Absolutely. Georgia, the win over Georgia is everything for Alabama. Yeah. And so I'll ask you, I'm getting people, well, you almost lost. You almost let them come back. It wasn't that impressive because of the second half. Well, didn't you get up 30-7 on them? Didn't you knock them off their feet into the corner of the ring? And yeah, sure, they got up off the mat and very impressive. Sure. They fought the rest of the fight.
Maybe that's why they're the number 1 team in the country.
Exactly. Like at some point, like that win over Georgia is the banner mark. No one else has it.
For something.
No one else has it. And whether, Georgia fought back, the result remains. And I think that really, you've got Alabama and Oregon. Your best two has your best 2 wins. And so you look at Alabama, you've lost to Tennessee, you've lost to Vanderbilt, and that's where everyone else goes. It's immediately. Well, you beat Georgia, but you lost to Vanderbilt. You lost to Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt stinks. Vanderbilt is Vanderbilt. They're the worst team in the SEC. Texas, Vanderbilt, what's I mean, yes, this is the Joe Gaither opinion, but where did I put them in my power rankings this past week? Was it 6? Was it 7 in the league? They're not the 16th best team. I have them 7th in the league. You have Alabama, LSU, Tennessee, Texas, Georgia, Texas A&M. Like, look, Vanderbilt, I have them above Oklahoma, above Florida, above Missouri. I know Missouri beat them, but like, I think that Vanderbilt's
a good team.
Like, all right, stop. Is Vanderbilt a good team, or are we just stuck in our biases because they beat Alabama?
I don't think so.
Well, you lost to Georgia State in the last second. It's a horrible loss. That's a horrific
But then
loss.
you lose by a field goal to Texas.
Right? And you beat the number 1 team in the nation,
Alabama,
who had just beat the number 1 team in the nation.
Beat Kentucky, which is not much to write home about, but it's Vanderbilt beating Kentucky. So winning an SEC game alone is important for Vanderbilt. You handle business against Ball State. I mean, you slaughtered Alcorn State, obviously. Not a whole lot to write home about again, but still, you won week 1 against Virginia Tech. Vanderbilt, this is not a top 10 team in the country or anything. They're not great. They don't even have really a lot of great players. I think the quarterback's pretty good, and he's probably the best one on the roster. But the whole team plays so tough. They play everyone hard. They're very well coached. They believe that they can win every game they are playing, and it's a solid team. It is not the Vanderbilt of old.
Vanderbilt going on the road this week at Auburn. We were talking about locks and smelly lions. This is that's a nasty line. Auburn, a 7-point favorite at home. I mean, yes, you're at home, so you get 3 points. You're going to give them 4 more points?
No.
I don't look. I'm not. This is not a gambling show, and this is not for gambling advice, but that one looks fishy to me. Vanderbilt, look, you can say, Joe, you're just biased because Alabama, you're Alabama. Okay, but I don't vote in the AP poll. I don't vote in the coaches poll. And okay, I have never thought the coaches poll is worth anything because there's just a bunch of SIDs filling them out. And they're smart people for sure, but it's not Steve Sarkisian and Kirby Smart filling out the polls, right? Okay. But you look at the polls and you go all the way through 1 through 25, no Vanderbilt. Okay. But in the bottom section, there's right underneath 25, right underneath 25, others receiving votes. Okay, well, what's the number after 25, Mason?
26.
So if the first team, it's in the others receiving votes with 41 votes, wouldn't that mean that they're the 26th best team in the country?
Stands to reason.
Oh, okay. And so if Vanderbilt is 26, like, does that make it a bad loss? Losing to Vanderbilt on the road?
I don't think so. I think if you ask anybody, and if you lost to a top 30 team, is it a bad loss? They'd probably tell you no.
That's the problem. That's the issue. People, they're not a top 30 team. Oh, they're not. They literally are.
Watch them play football.
They literally are. They took Texas to the wire. They play a style that they will never get blown out. They will never get blown out. They will be in every game. And you can say, oh, almost doesn't count. Sure, it doesn't count, but they will never be blown out. They've been, Virginia Tech. You win against Virginia Tech. You smack Alcorn State. You get 2 losses in a row in heartbreaking fashion. And then you get on, look, it's not Mississippi State. It's not Auburn. Mississippi State is the worst team in the SEC. Auburn is the 2nd worst team in the SEC, not Vanderbilt. And while Vanderbilt doesn't look like a good name, when was their last SEC championship? Never. I think they won a conference title in 1913, 14, 16, when it was the Southern Conference or something. So they haven't been good. We're not shying away from it. It's not a good loss, but it's also not a bad loss.
Yeah.
It's not losing to Mercer. It's not losing to Western Kentucky. It's not losing to, who's the third bad team that they played? USF. It's not losing. Look, you lose to USF at home. Oh, that's a bad loss. That's a horrific. Last year, you go down to Tampa and you lose that game. That's a bad loss. But you didn't.
Yeah.
And last year, Texas gets in the college football playoff because they beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa. we gotta use some deductive reasoning here. Last year's selections: Alabama, Texas, Washington, Michigan. Why did Texas and Alabama get jumped in over Florida State? And you're going to have people, oh, it's because of SEC bias. Maybe that's like you can argue that, but realistically, Texas had a great win in Tuscaloosa over a top 3 team, and then Alabama on the last week of the season beat a team number 1 in the country on the last week. Like, hey, my final impression is we just beat the best team in the country, and we were already at 5, 6, right. So the wins matter.
Yes,
they matter so much, and you can talk about Alabama saying losing to Vanderbilt, losing to Tennessee, but no one has a better win than over Georgia. That team went into Texas and punked their asses. They punked Texas. That's a great team. And look, you talk about, oh, well, if you take that win away, what's your next best win? Okay, you're in bad debates there at Wisconsin, Missouri, South Carolina, not good wins. But guess what? November is coming.
That too.
November, like, we're going to get all hung up right here next Tuesday on who's in and who's out without even playing. With playing one, the second. This weekend is November 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
We're playing one weekend in November. You're going to have, what, 4 more weeks? The 9th, 16th, 23rd, and 30th. Right. You'll have 4 more weeks of November. And, okay, I'm not an old man, Mason, but I'm not young either. My entire life, what happens in November in college football?
It's the best part of the year for a reason. It's like
chaos.
It's awesome.
Chaos abound. Losses, upsets, bad. It's going to get crazy. And so look what happens for Alabama. Just look at it.
Yeah.
You get this weekend off. You end up at 14 in the college football playoff poll. You end up at 11 in the college football playoff poll. One of these, right? You end up at 9, depending on where you want to debate with your mama. It doesn't matter. You're ending up 9 to 16. You're in that range. Well, guess what? You also get to go on the road to play LSU in hell, right? LSU hasn't been, is 16th.
Yep.
16 right now. And that'll be a very respectable win on the road. Of course, you wanted to win up in Knoxville, but everything's out in front of you for Alabama. And it's quite simple. If you keep winning, you will be in, period. You lose one of these games, you will need chaos to happen.
Yep.
You lose to LSU, you finish the year 9-3. You might end up in the Citrus Bowl, in the Cheez-It Bowl down there in Orlando. Or you might get a whole lot of chaos in college football, and you might have you might actually get it. Like November's. Don't get caught up in this coming Tuesday's poll.
There's a lot of football left to play. A lot of football left. A lot of these teams that you will see in these first college football rankings will likely not be there by the season's end.
What do you think about Indiana? Let's look at Indiana real quick.
This is something I kind of wanted to ask you a couple weeks ago and just forgot to. Following the Tennessee loss, when everybody was harping on, did Bama hire the wrong
Kirk Cignetti?
What do you? What was Kurt Cignetti the hire Bama should have made?
Maybe.
I mean,
out of the Saban tree.
Yeah,
out of the Saban tree, undefeated this year.
He was not even on the radar.
Can they finish the year undefeated at Michigan State, versus Michigan, at Ohio State, and beat Purdue? So will 11-1 put them in?
It's tough.
It has to. It has to.
Because
okay, 11-1. Where's your win?
That's what I'm
Indiana,
saying.
FIU, Western Illinois.
I think they kind of have to beat Ohio State.
Oh gosh, you're right. That's a nasty schedule.
Yeah, I think they have.
Florida International, Western Illinois, at UCLA, Charlotte. I mean, that's your UCLA is not non-conference. Your non-conference was FIU. Oh, there was only 3 because they're playing the extra conference game. Their non-conference schedule is FIU, Western Illinois, and Charlotte.
Yeah.
And you only have 1 ranked team on your schedule. You don't have Oregon. You wish if you were Indiana that Michigan was worth a darn this year. You wish that Washington was worth a darn, that Nebraska could have kept it going. Yikes. They may be behind the 8 ball.
I think they're in a tough spot. I think that Ohio State game is almost a quasi playoff game to decide kind of whether or not they can get in. If they lose by, field goal or something, they maybe have a chance. But I think they have to win that game if Indiana wants to get in.
What do you think about this week, though? Ohio State at Penn State, 11 a.m. on Fox.
It's interesting because Ohio State has not really wowed me this year. They've been, they've been solid. No, don't get me wrong, they're good, but they've not. It's not been. Oh my gosh, you need to watch Ohio State. They're, amazing. They're just kind of just quietly beating people over there, And Penn State's kind of the same way. So I think if Penn State wants to beat Ohio State, this is maybe the year to do it. Over the you look to the last 3 or 4 years, this is maybe the best chance they're going to have. I don't love Will Howard.
Now you look at Penn State's schedule. I mean, they're almost in the same boat as Indiana,
this one too.
But they do have Illinois. They did get the Illinois win. That's a ranked win. They were, at USC. Would have been a fun win for them, but SC has been terrible.
Yeah, they've been disappointing this year.
So
got to the Big Ten, couldn't play big boy ball.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out.
There's so many scenarios like that.
Right. There's so many good teams. So many teams with good records.
It's going to be 16 teams before we know it. I mean, it'll be maybe within 3 years, it'll be 16 teams, and then maybe we'll see what happens from there.
Don't I have a poll here? Yeah, rankings right there. Right there. I just want to look at that. So, how many teams are in the top 25?
Clemson is interesting.
Everybody in the top 25 has 2 losses or less. So, you still got a lot of football to play, and it's going to shake out a little bit. How we feel about BYU? I know we talked about going to BYU yesterday, but their resume, you've beaten Kansas State. You are this coming up week. In 2 weeks, excuse me. You're playing Utah. That's going to be your big one, and the rest of the schedule is kind of you're probably only getting to get one Big Ten team in, right? You look at BYU, their schedule is pretty lackluster. Iowa State is undefeated, and Kansas State. Those are your 3 teams in the contention for the Big 12. Iowa State, you've got a win over Iowa, ranked Iowa. You have Kansas State at the end of your schedule as well. So I think there's only going to be one Big 12 team.
Yeah, I think that's fair. All
right, one Big 12, one team from
Big 10,
the group of 5.
Yeah.
And then obviously your 4 conference champions, so there's 6, right? So you're at 6 other spots remaining. Are you just going 3-3 with the SEC and the Big 10? Or are you throwing an extra spot with the ACC? Take one more away from the Big 10? Maybe.
I mean, you could make an argument for 2 ACC teams, probably Miami and Clemson.
Yeah, Miami and Clemson definitely have a great argument. I think Miami's a good team.
Yeah, I think Miami's
offense is really dangerous.
Yeah.
And I think that an Alabama versus Miami matchup would be
juicy.
Yes. It would make all my neurons pop for sure. Because Cam Ward against this defense, I think Cam Ward might make this defense look not so good. Not so good.
Yeah, he might carve him up a little bit. He's very, very good.
All right. So we got another 4 or 5 days until the college football playoff poll comes out. We just kind of wanted to talk about it for a little bit. Alabama, it's simple. If that's all you care about, it's very simple. Keep winning, you will be in.
Yep.
Lose one of these games, you're going to need a lot of help. A lot of help. Especially if you lose any game that's not at LSU. If you lose to Oklahoma, you lose Auburn at home, you can basically write yourself into the Independence Bowl. Not really, but
you're not wrong.
City Bowl, Cheez-It Bowl, Orlando something, Capital One Bowl, not the college football playoff. That's the point. It's basically simple as that. Don't have to be watching all these other teams. Don't have to be schedule watching. Just go beat LSU, smack Mercer, smack Oklahoma, and smack Auburn. Wait a week. Hang out, watch 2 other teams play in the SEC championship and say, good job. Y'all go beat each other up. Y'all beat each other up.
Get healthy.
We'll stay healthy. Get ready for our trip to BYU or our trip to
wherever.
Iowa State or our trip to boys. Oh my gosh. Send me to the blue turf. Blue field.
I don't know, though. I don't really want to play against Ashton Genty. He's a bit of a problem.
With the way Alabama's run defense has been this year, that would be a huge issue. It would just be a bloodbath. It would be Vanderbilt. It would be the Vanderbilt plan with the Dylan Sampson talent times 2. times 2 or 3, and it'd just be like, hammer him again.
Have 55 carries
again. Deontay Lawson, do you want to keep tackling him or not? John Campbell,
man.
are you a man? Do you want to keep tackling him or not? That's basically what it would be.
That would be crazy though. Bam on the blue turf.
Those white jerseys.
Yeah, that would be sweet.
Those white jerseys, red helmets on the blue turf, dancing in the blue end zone. Ryan Williams, he'd paint his fingernails blue. People would say, what are you painting your fingernails for, Boise State? Oh, no, my sister just likes to do it, and I just don't tell her what color. Like, come on. Like,
he absolutely just lost a bet with somebody and had to paint his nails orange.
You're probably right. Because why don't you tell your sister any color but orange, ma'am? I don't care. Like, now I'm not here to condemn painting the fingernails.
No,
I don't give her a rip.
I don't care.
But, like, don't you tell her green is good this week?
Mm-hmm.
Blue is good this week. Crimson, gray.
Yeah. No,
Purple.
I think he made a wager with someone and had to own up to that.
Probably so. Probably so. All right, let's get out of here for the day. We got to go talk to some assistant coaches. The guys are getting back into the facility today. Their bye week is kind of over, per se. They had Monday and Tuesday off. They're back into it this today. We're going to go talk to assistant coaches. You can watch it on the Bama Central YouTube channel. And then we will hear from head coach Kalen DeBoer on the SEC Coaches teleconference at 11:30. We'll have Hey Coach tonight. Real quick, Mason, are the phone lines back on tonight?
Oh, yeah. I think so.
I'm going to call and just be like, hey, it's Gary from Gordo. I want to talk to Coach. And just kind of try to make up some. Hey, Coach, you know what? I really want to compliment you. You really turned it around in 1 week. You started running the football. Y'all got that shutout. I'm just so proud of you. Everything. I don't even care what you're wearing this week because as long as you shut them out. And look, Coach, you got to be ready to go down to LSU.
I hated to see Cole Adams go down. Bryson Hubbard
Played
played great.
Thanks,
maybe
Coach.
get a little more involved.
Thanks, Coach.
Bryson Hubbard on the punt return, maybe, Coach.
So that'll be fun to see if the phone lines are back on tonight.
I think they will be. And I think we'll have some good. I think he'll get some good interactions from the fans. I think they'll be happy this week.
Absolutely. We will cover it all tomorrow right here on the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central and BamaCentral.com. We want to thank Purple Turtle Roofing, Druid City Music Hall, and our friend Derek Daniel for sponsoring the program. Call Derek Daniel 205-758-3391 for all your insurance needs. Call and see how much Derek can save you today.
Thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Keep up with Joe on all his social media pages at Joe Gaither6. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and be sure to read us daily at BamaCentral.com.